Hello everyone and welcome to our quarterly members update. I'm Karen Shackleton, the founder of Pensions for Purpose, and I'm joined today by our Chief Executive, Charlotte O'Leary. We're going to have a conversation about Pensions for Purpose and talk about the value that we bring to our members and also talk to you about what's on the horizon for next year. Okay, Charlotte, to kick us off, how would you describe how Pensions for Purpose has evolved over the past year? Because we've been quite busy, haven't we?
It has been an incredibly busy time, not just for us, but also for all of our members. I don't think I've ever seen a more busy period when it comes to consultations, policy changes, shifts in landscape. Our members are having to grapple with quite a lot. And that's where an organisation like ours can really help them navigate those challenges, but also opportunities. So I think for us, it's been about strengthening our position as a thought leader, particularly through research and insight. So really giving our members a sense of what's happening on the ground, what's working, what isn't, challenges and opportunities when it comes to sustainability and impact integration. So we've been doing some really interesting things on conflicts and lobbying, for example, through our training, and we've had events on defence. We've also talked about peace and justice and want to do more on that as we go into the new year. So lots of wide-ranging topics covered. We've also updated the impact investing principles for pensions with the Impact Investing Institute and the GIN. And that was really critical because that was actually a evolution of the kind of legal interpretation of fiduciary duty and being able to go further in thinking about systemic risks and living standards of members in retirement. So that's really, up to date. Good governance principles for how pension funds can approach impact all the way from their priorities through to reporting. We've also expanded our different works. So we've introduced the ecosystem themes for our asset owners based on what they need from us. And we've also seen growth in membership, which is really positive, I think, given some of the headwinds that we see in the marketplace. And that has also included insurers for purpose. Insurers are really critical to the ecosystem within which pension funds operate. Pension funds don't act alone. And so what insurers are doing in terms of their investment and also their physical underwriting is really critical for pension scheme members. And then responding to policy consultations, I mentioned that right up. There have been a significant number all the way from local government pension scheme consultations on access and fairness through to the pension schemes bill, and also in relation to specific areas around better business, east side as well. So a lot of different areas covered there, and we're looking to do more on behalf of our members. We also want to hear from our members whether there's anything they want to contribute to that we're already responding to or advocating on, but equally if there are other areas that they think we should be looking at. When you speak to asset owners, Karen, what do they say they value most about being part of Pensions for Purpose and our network?
There's a lot of different things that they value, but I think I'd probably start with the fact that it helps them build their internal knowledge. I mean, this was very much why we set up Pensions for Purpose in the very beginning, was to help asset owners make informed decisions about some of these topics that we're covering. So I think they really appreciate the access that they have to our thought leadership, our research and insights. They enjoy attending the meetings to discuss some of these top topics, and then also through training sessions as well that they can access if they wish. It all helps them to build their knowledge base. I think, you mentioned the ecosystem themes earlier, and the launch of our community interest groups has allowed asset owners to dip into the topics that are most relevant to them at this particular point in time. And we've had some really good discussions, fascinating topics, ranging from thinking about diversity, equity and inclusion through to, I was at one this week talking about climate innovation and what that might look like, hearing from asset owners and asset managers and other industry experts. We had a fantastic climate expert at our last community interest group meeting. I think our asset owners also like the ability to collaborate with other stakeholders. Obviously, The networking between themselves is valuable. At our annual symposium, for example, the chat in the room was really energetic for the whole day. And I think that for asset owners, that's quite valuable to just dip into and have conversations with their peers and with those who are servicing them through the asset management of their assets. But the overriding benefit of being part of Pensions for Purpose, which comes through again and again when we send out our surveys asking for feedback, is that what asset owners value most is the fact that we are impartial and independent. And that, I think, is something that we need to hold on to because in the world that we operate in, there are always so many conflicts. It's not that you can't manage conflicts, but if you are conflict free, it puts you in a different position to be able to convey some of these sensitive topics that you're talking about. So that's what we have been doing. I wonder if you can sort of perhaps share a few examples of the kinds of work that we've been doing with asset owners from your perspective.
Yeah, I think it's been amazing to see how we are able to interact with our members for exactly the reason that you mentioned, because we're independent and impartial. It means that we can have, in-depth qualitative interviews with our members and get some real research insights on the base of what's happening on the ground. We hear a lot about policy or about frameworks, and a lot of that is a theoretical exercise. But what happens practically with asset owners when they're actually try to integrate that and embed that into their working practice becomes very different. And so our research, our impact lens research, has really been all about that. So this year we've undertaken in the range of 80 to 100 interviews with asset owners. That's qualitative interviews where they're transcribed, they're reviewed, and they're put into research reports on a range of different topics. So that could be from systemic stewardship through to investing into venture capital and growth. We've also looked at this year, I mentioned insurers for purpose. So we actually did research on what insurers are doing on integrating sustainability into their investments and underwriting. And we are also currently in the process of looking at biodiversity and natural capital, particularly looking at mobilizing finance for forestry. So a wide range of different areas covered. We also every year do a review of our adopters of the impact investing principles for pensions. And that's about understanding what our pension fund adopters are doing, and also about what their investment consultants and fiduciary managers are doing on impact. This is about good governance principles, not a rigorous exercise of reporting on different indicators. It's really about charting progress and helping pension funds go through that thinking that's required to really integrate impact with integrity. And so that's been really interesting to see the different challenges that they come up against, how pension funds are looking at impact, whether that's integrating it into their whole portfolio and taking a holistic view to portfolio construction, or whether that's integrating that into certain assets or investment solutions that they're looking at. So that will be published very, very soon. So as I say, lots of qualitative insights, which have been brilliant. We had our annual symposium where we also had a number of our members either receive awards for the progress that they're making, which has been really critical from our perspective to really demonstrate what leadership looks like and what best practice looks like. And then also convening the discussions. We've had pilot sessions on systems and governance change, which has been really eye-opening to understand the difficulties that there are in trying to integrate sustainability and impact within the systems that we currently operate within, and what the governance challenges are there. And then we've launched and been running people value for some time. So I know there have been interesting discussions there on health and well-being, for example. So going much further than just the diversity, equity, and inclusion areas that we typically look at. And then impact integration. So we've talked about how pension fund trustees actually using impact performance reports. We ask to see those, and we want to see more being done on impact, but what practically works for trustees. So we've got some reports on that as well. So a great range of qualitative insights, reviews, and discussions, and all of that is available on our website to our members, which is brilliant. We know that a lot is changing in the industry at the moment. I think no one can fail to be aware of that. But from your perspective, Karen, what's influencing the current conversations?
Well, as you know, I spend a lot of time working with local government pension schemes at a personal level. And my goodness me, consolidation and pooling has been a major driver of the conversations this year. And I think will continue to do so into next year. They all have this deadline of March 2026 to get their underlying investments onto the pool that they have aligned to. We've had the merging of several pools as well, with people going in different directions. So that's taken up an awful lot of time, consideration, and the pools themselves have had a huge amount of work of thinking about how they're going to deliver the services that their member funds are looking for. So it's been quite an exciting year, but obviously a lot of attention on that, which sometimes diverts from progress in the sorts of topics that we want to get progress in. So it's sort of a bit of a double-edged sword. But I'm hoping that once the changes have taken place, then we will start to see a bit more progress again and a bit more energy going back into thinking about environmental, social, impactful investing. The other thing that I think has taken up conversations, and there are many, so I'm just picking out a couple here, is around some of the policy shifts that we've seen this year. There's a couple that sort of spring to mind, particularly the Mansion House Accord is probably one of the key developments coming out of the government's desire to see UK pension funds investing in the UK. And this in turn has led to a growth in interest in venture capital investments, for example. Some of the opportunities that come out of the university innovation hubs, they go into startup phase. And as they get into some of the early stage developments, then they are looking for external capital. And as a patient investor, pension fund is very well placed to back that. But venture capital is quite a new space for many pension funds. So it has meant that we've started to think about how we can work with pension funds to help them with their VC knowledge and experience. The other one that stands out to me is around the pension schemes bill. We have seen an amendment being put forward, tabled by the Labour MP for Birmingham, Liam Byrne. That's been fairly dramatic. It's had a lot of support. I know that you personally have supported it, Charlotte. And we are now seeing Torsten Bell agreeing that more clarity is needed, and that'll probably come through in secondary legislation, which is really exciting. So with all of that happening, first of all, you probably do want to sort of comment a bit more on that bill, knowing that you've spent a lot of time and energy thinking about it and supporting it. But how do you then see Pensions for Purpose supporting members through those changes?
I've always taken the position, and people talk about this, fiduciary duty requires you to look at, the best interests of your members. And obviously that's about what is financially material. Of course, increasingly, we know that physical climate risks and transition risks are financial, and that's why regulator and other standard makers are looking at transition plans for pension schemes. The tricky thing is that these things are being variously implemented, and so it's just not homogenous in terms of application. And because of the risks that we're looking at, they can be very significant for members, particularly of different generations. So really understanding your membership profile and really understanding systemic risks and all of those that contribute, I think, is really, really important, not least because one of the things we talk about is that trustees can't be expected to do all of this on their own. It is too much expectation. They are part of an ecosystem, which is actually why we've looked at calling ourselves an ecosystem, and that's of advisors, managers, insurers, foundations. They're all part of this financial ecosystem that needs to work in alignment to try and help us resolve some of these great challenges. And so by putting this wording in about systemic risks and about considering the living standards of your members in retirement is changing the mindset and the ability to have those conversations. One of the things that we've heard in our membership is that sometimes advisors find it tricky to navigate and know how to advise, their clients because of various interpretations of fiduciary duty. So it's really about creating that clarity. and also a safe harbour for trustees, in terms of the decisions that they're making. So that's why we've backed it. We really, really support our members. We want them to be able to focus on taking action and being able to make investments rather than getting caught up in litigation. That's, really, really important. So we want that clarity. And so we will be continuing, around our position statements on fiduciary duty and making sure that we are available to comment in the best interests of our members. But also on other areas as well, such as better business, which we've also supported, and on ecocide. There's a current ecocide bill going through Scottish Parliament, and that's also going through the Commonwealth at the moment. And that's really important as well to kind of raise the floor in terms of how governments, investors and business operate.
This is the last question for me. I mean, what can members look forward to from us next year?
As with any membership organisation, you need to look at how you're operating, in the best interest of your members. We've just been talking about all of that. And as we've been really progressing our policy and advocacy work, really thinking about getting more adopters to the principles, making sure we're enabling those peer-to-peer discussions and having those community interest groups that really help asset owners to talk about the challenges that they have when it comes to sustainability and impact. We've had to think about how we best reflect that value in our membership fees. We're very transparent in how we operate, and we're also a very lean organisation in the sense that we don't have physical offices, so we do really think about our members and also the climate, and our impact when we are making these decisions. So what we've decided to do is introduce a modest subscription rate for our asset owner members to reflect the value we think we deliver for them, and also in recognition of the fact that we want to do more to progress, policy and advocacy work, but also the themes and the community interest groups, so that they get the benefit of learning from best practice and seeing what is happening in the marketplace. So that's something that will be introduced from next year. We also have a refreshed events programme. So we're very, very aware that there are a huge number of events across our industry. We're not looking to proliferate events. We don't think that's helpful. So we're looking at a reduced events programme that really focuses on key insights and getting the most out of, our research, but also working with our asset manager members and hearing about their solutions. So there will be insight days and ecosystem forum days looking at the themes. There are also going to be changes to our website, and there will be content posting for our asset owner members in recognition of the fact that they will be paying a subscription fee. So they'll be able to share their case studies, best practice and lessons learned. And then we'll also be facilitating, collaborating to refine strategies and overcome challenges with our asset owner members. So we are looking at ways that we can bring members based in the UK and also based in other regions together to share best practice and new ideas that are at the forefront. As I mentioned, we'll also be looking to do more on policy and research work. Our Impact Lens research has been fantastic for really helping support our policy positions, because it demonstrates, what asset owners are doing and where there are gaps. So very much carrying on in the same vein, but just looking to do more, to do it better, and continually to get feedback from our members on what is working.
And of course, just a shout out to the team. We have an incredibly small team achieving all of this. So they work incredibly hard. So thanks to everybody. And thank you, Charlotte, for sharing your insights today. And for everybody who's listening to this conversation, we hope it's given you a sense of the work that we're doing, the value that we're bringing to our members, and also perhaps a taste of what's in the year ahead. If you'd like to learn more or get involved, please get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you again for joining us. And we look forward to continuing the conversation. Goodbye.